coronavirus. We strongly advise our passengers to show consideration and to maintain at least 1 meter distance to each other. Remember to buy your ticket before you board.
Hello everyone and welcome. First of all, congratulations to the United States for finally being able to launch people into space from the Florida coast again after 9 years. Finally, we are going to see some space action. Thank you. I really have to admit it's been such a long time since I actually saw my last space launch, and this was just pure awesomeness. I was so nervous in the beginning. I was like, oh, please say that this is going to go okay, because yeah, everyone remembered the 2 launches that did not go so well. So yeah, it's just awesome. to the channel, BMO. Thank you for becoming a member, Canis Superius. Oh, I see that, or I can read that the Vmax is under the watermark. So if you just give me a minute, I will disable the watermark. Thank you so much for the super chat, Gilbert. And I think the watermark should be invisible now, is it? Thank you, Greg Ryan. Yes, I am doing great. Thank you for becoming a member, Torbjörn. So just on a note here, when it comes to services between Bergen and Oslo, we are still running really limited services. So the day train that leaves from Bergen at noon and from Oslo at 12:03, also noon, those trains are cancelled out the summer, and no, actually they started running the weekends now and will be inserted back into normal service in September, if I am not mistaken. And the night train between Oslo and Bergen will be cancelled until fall. And that is basically because we're not allowed to use the sleepers, which is due to the probability of infection and containment. Or the right word would be contamination. Thank you so much for the super chat, Rail. Thank you so much for the super chat, John. BMO place, yes, this is Norway. So you are now watching a train that runs on the Bergen line between Bergen and Oslo, and the starting point for this train, or my part on this train, is from Voss, and we are going to all in Hallingskeid. TJ, Were you able to watch the launch live down there in Titusville, or did you watch it from home? Hey there, John Skinner. VK24, just like pretense or background for this answer is that here the other day I was supposed to go to Bergen with a train, and everything got halted because a person with some challenges actually chose to sit on the track and did not want to move. So we had to call out the police, and when the police came, the person just ran off into a tunnel. So 2 trains were cancelled because of that, and they had to do replacement service. But my train was actually able to go to Bergen, but we were severely delayed. And then because of that, there was a lot of traffic from freight trains that was like waiting all over the place, because this actually happened in the morning rush. And so these freight trains actually clogged up the line and tunnel into the freight terminal in Bergen. So there were 2 or 3 other trains that also ended up being cancelled, basically because of the lack of free slots to get into Bergen. So that one person was able to disturb the traffic for almost an entire day, because it really takes time to get everything back into its schedule, because all those freight trains that came in late, they will be delayed when they remove the cargo. They will be delayed when they put cargo back on, and then they will be delayed in their departure, which will affect everything else on the Bergen line as well. So it is a touchy system, really. There's, with this density of trains coming in and going out at certain points during the day, it is kind of vulnerable to unforeseen events. John Skinner, yes, I have actually picked up the new camera, and I will actually be starting using a different camera. Hopefully I will be able to do it already this coming week. On Wednesday I am going to Flom, so that will actually be its test. Thank you so much for the super chat, Canis Superior. Canis, from Voss to Bergen, that takes approximately, with a local service, it takes 1 hour and 15 to 20 minutes, depending on what kind of train you are on. But yeah, about 1 hour 15 minutes. So the camera will be quite different. The picture will be more true to eye, how the Bergen line and Flom railway, and basically how it really looks, because the GoPro kind of, the lens on the GoPro is so wide, so everything looks so far away and all the curves look so easy and slack. But in reality, these curves are really tight. And so I'm really looking forward to be able to really show you guys how steep those mountains are and how close they are and how much curvature there is, actually is on the line. So yeah, it's exciting. Demo place? Yes, there is actually a lot of animals, but the drivers or the engineers who actually see most of that wildlife are those who actually runs freight trains. And the reason for that is basically because they are running at time of day, like in the really early morning, around 4 o'clock, 4 to 5 o'clock. That's actually when you see most of the wildlife here. So for me, who runs during daytime mostly and evening, I don't see that much, but there is occasionally the deer here and there and foxes. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to start running the sleeper trains again when it starts running, because then I actually get to see the wildlife. Hey there, Eric. I'm doing good. How are you? Hey there, Patricia. EK24, what my opinion on that is, it's gonna be awesome when it's finished, but to be quite honest, I don't think it's gonna be finished during my career here as an engineer, basically because that line was supposed to be finished in 1986 and we are now in 2020. They haven't even started yet, and they're still just, yeah, they just cut the funding for it because of the current situation in the world. And so yeah, I don't think we're going to see that line anytime soon. We have a saying here on the railroad, and that is that 50 years is a short time when it comes to railroad. So everything goes so slowly because the politicians just, nah, we want to do this, but nah, we're going to do that, but nah, but because we want to do this instead. And in the end of the day, the next government that comes into power, they will just cut the funding. So yeah, it's truly stupid. They should have done that line years ago. Chetan Kumar, the COVID situation here in Norway now is it's starting to loosen up. I think it was just below 300 who has passed away due to it, and the infection rate is falling. Hospitalization is falling. I think it's just like 35 or something that is now in hospital here in Norway due to the COVID. And they are now lifting restrictions and we are skydiving again, and yes, I think hopefully we will be almost back to normal by the end of the summer, but our borders will still be restricted for travel for the foreseeable future. Thank you so much for the super chat, John Skinner. Chetkan? Rail driver, if I was fired and had to end the channel, I don't think I would end the channel. I basically think I would still be filming trains, but maybe from a different angle. And I will probably pursue other things to do first in perspective on. Like, I could, for example, ride my motorcycle around the coast here and film that. So, if I had the time and the hours, so let's say that if a day was like 120 hours, I would absolutely film everything, because I think it's awesome to do this. Thank you so much for the soup chat, Christine. Thank you, VK24. A little bit early, but we are getting there. John Skinner, no, sadly I wasn't, because when we were over there, things started to kind of get crazy, and I was basically, we arrived like it was approximately 2 weeks before it was declared a pandemic, and just a week or something before, 1.5 weeks before the borders were closed and Disney closed and basically all the amusement parks closed. So yeah, I didn't get a chance to do that, so stuck around in the land for the whole duration. Did some short trips out of the land and didn't leave the car. Besides that, stayed at home. Yeah, you guys are still kind of locked out of our country, even though you are neighbors. But I heard, I think it was on the news yesterday, that they're probably gonna lift, or they already did, lift restrictions for travel to Denmark. So I think Danes and Norwegians can like travel back and forth between Denmark and Norway now. So yeah, sorry. Jose, I am actually driving a 2005 Suzuki Bandit. Thank you so much for the soup chat, Ian, and I'm really sorry that you weren't able to get here because of the COVID-19. And yeah, that really sucks. Betjent, more Transport Fever 2 will come. will do, Tramper Kev. Emo place. It's still cold in the mountains, but here down in the lowland it's been really hot for the past couple of days, and it looks like it's going to be really good weather for the coming week as well. The bike is really necessary here during the summer because of all the traffic on the road between Oslo and Bergen, especially here the part from Flom to Bergen. So if you want to get past all those campers and caravans, you really have to have a motorcycle, or else you'll be stuck in that slow-going traffic for hours. Over 2:56. It is now 10 past 10 p.m. and the sun just went down behind the mountain, so basically it won't get dark here before another hour. And the closer we get to mid-June or end of June, the lighter it will be. So it really never gets dark here during the summer. Nena, sadly I have to announce that we don't have anymore. We now have a cap. Yeah, it's kind of sad. They changed out everything, so we basically look like bus drivers now. John Skinner, I actually drove back this day, but that will be a separate video, or else this whole trip would be over 4 hours and approximately 140 gigabytes, and that will be outside YouTube's limitations of file size. So that will be in a video in the future. Hey there, Stellark. Thank you, Nana. Right back at ya. Hey there, that guy. Whoa, thank you so much for the super chat, Naomi Garza. Thank you so much for the super chat, Servant of Milan. Hey there, Warm Waffle. Thank you so much for the super chat, Sakura. BMO Place. I think I started uploading in I think it was the first video was like back in 2013 or something, 2012. I think that 2012, 2011 or 2012. That was actually the first videos, and they were just basically just small clips from work, and then I did one trip that I uploaded that was kind of a fast forward from Oslo to Lillehammer, and then a trip from Halden to Oslo, and then I moved to the west coast of Norway, and yeah, here we are today. So been kind of doing this for a while. Thank you so much for the super chat, Steven. Thank you, Steva. Blanco, I actually had a really great weekend and still have a great weekend. So I've been off work for a couple of days now, so finally I was able to finish this video, and it really took some time because of all the side views in this video. And running 2 GoPros on this production proved kind of challenging because it seems like that the GoPro doesn't kind of use time as a reference on how big the files are going to be or how long the clips are going to be. It actually uses the amount of data it records. So if the front views records a certain amount of data faster than the side view, the files get kind of off skew, and then everything just gets out of order, and the further and the longer out in the video we get. So I had to kind of go in and make new clips, and yeah, it was really daunting work, but got through it. Was able to push everything through last night, and had to re-render it again this morning because everything crashed. But yeah, here it is, fresh out of the oven, this video. Thank you for becoming a member, Naomi. Thank you so much for the super chat, Joe Brown. Rail driver, I think that's pretty awesome. Thank you, Rosemary. John Skinner, yep, that is actually correct. So there's actually 2 cameras running on this one. One attached to the side window, just right to the right for me. And there's one camera attached to the windshield in front that films forward. Thank you so much for the soup chat, Big Al. If you look closely down to the small picture-in-picture to bottom left, you can still see the randomness of the cabin we plowed through during this winter. Midham, if you have a question for me, I would advise you to actually tag me in the question. So if you just press alpha and then start to write my name, it will pop up and it will actually turn red when you ask the question, so it makes it easier for me to see it in the chat. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Stellark. John Skinner, yeah, that is actually one of the fascinating things of being an engineer slash train driver slash operator, depending on where in the world you are. But even though you are driving the same route day in and day out, the clouds are different, the lights are different, and time of day is different. So we actually see some new stuff every single day, and that is one of the cool things about this work, is that your view always changes. There's no days that are 100% alike the day before or like a week ago. So it's just a new experience every time. Thank you so much for that super chat, that guy. Hey there, Stuart Muir. Yes, they actually do some heritage runs on this line. I think they did one for the 100th year anniversary, and I'm not sure if they're gonna do anything this summer, but they actually do some heritage runs. But there is a heritage line here that runs on the old part around Arna. And you also have the Kröder line, which is a heritage line, and you have one over in Sørumsand on the Kongsvinger line. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Greg Ryan. Thank you, Rachel, and welcome. Yes, this station is pronounced Myrdal. Eric Kravik, everything is possible. Jay Johnson, no, I was actually not able to see any space launch when I was in Florida in March, but I did actually see one, I think it was 3 years before this, in 2016 it was. I actually saw a space launch from Tide as well, and it was awesome. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Stephanie. So, due to the changes and limited services on this line during this time, we are also stopping on requests on several stops. Train 62, which we are running right now, usually don't stop at the next station, but because of the next train that actually does being cancelled, they opted and changed the schedule for this train to actually make a stop on request at Hallingskeid, which is the next station. That guy, I'm really glad that my channel actually was able to keep you sane for the past 2 months. Yeah, I actually think it's really awesome that these clips has been able to help people getting through lockdown and not being able to go outside. And this one really goes out to you people who has underlying issues in your health that made you really what's the word? Not susceptible, but in a situation that the COVID-19 would really affect your health. So yeah, really glad to see that every one of you is still okay and healthy. So yeah, thank you for staying inside and staying inside with me. Naomi, I will definitely pronounce that when we get there. BK24, yes, I will absolutely continue to play Train Simulator 2020. I just need the time to be able to sit down and do a stream of that. I truly enjoyed the last time, so it will definitely happen again. Thank you, Paparon, and hello. Folkmaster 3, we were still kind of partially suspended this month, but we will be back 100% in June. At the same time, we will be driving more trains, but it will still be kind of a limited service. So it's gonna be kind of a mix of a winter schedule and a summer schedule with some alterations. Welcome to the first life, Typhoon. Thank you so much, that guy. I will definitely check that out, Eric. Thank you so much for the super chat, Frank. Josik, this video was recorded mid-May, so it is actually just 2 weeks ago. John Skinner, we have actually resumed skydiving here in Norway. We started here at Voss approximately a week ago, last weekend. And this is the first weekend, since the start of May, where the weather has been really good. So there has been a lot of skydiving. There are still some restrictions. We have a sanitizing regime that is totally crazy. We have to wear face masks, and we are not allowed to jump in t-shirts or anything where you can actually see or get in contact with bare skin. So it's a whole covered suit and everything. So when it's warm outside, it is kind of horrible to sit in that plane, but thinking of getting out of it when you come up to altitude and you finally get to cool down, that's it's a terrific feeling. Thank you so much for the super chat, Longbow. Rail driver, sometimes I actually use the radio, but the radio reception along this line due to the tunnels and stuff is really horrible. So basically it's MP3 player, just use the music from my phone and stream it to the radio via Bluetooth. Eric Kravik, it's about 70%. Texas check? Yes, but not in the lowlands. The snow resides in the mountains, and we have more snow now in the mountains than we have had the past 60 years. So it's kind of severe, because if we have high temperatures and rain at the same time, this is gonna melt really fast, which means that Voss will have a lot of water at some point. So they have actually issued an orange warning for severe flooding in huge parts of the country. Yeah, it's basically that. Thank you so much for super chat, Steve Blanco. Do I meet him? John Skinner, I can actually imagine, because I have been on some flights where there have been some really strange characters, and I have been thinking like, yeah, I actually do have my skydiving rig as a carry-on, I just lack my helmet. They should be glad I'm not situated at the emergency exit. That guy, actually this is kind of funny, because there are actually some skydivers who opt to jump totally naked when they reach a certain license or a certain amount of jumps, and yeah, it's quite interesting. Stephanie, yes, I actually do have long hair. Mr. UK Sergeant, thank you. I am doing great, and I hope you are too. Access check? Yes, I hope so too, but it's really nice to see that we have a lot of snow. I woke up this morning, I think it was around 5 a.m. because of an avalanche in the mountain on the other side of the valley here, and the sound was traveling really far, and you can hear this insane rumbling. And when I went down to the drop zone today, I could actually see the part that had come down the mountainside, so it was pretty big. No damages was done to any housing or roads or anything. This was like way up in the mountains. Jennifer, it's we have to dress warmer, so when I do runs like this, I actually make sure to check the weather beforehand and any conditions, and I dress accordingly, and I always dress a way that if something is going to happen, so I just have to be prepared for any situation going over the mountain. So we are now stopping at the station called Hallingskeid. Whoa! Thank you so much for that super chat, Papa Ron. Thank you. Midham, did you tag me in the questions? Because I asked you to tag me earlier, so if you could please ask the question again and tag me and I will answer it. I'm really sorry if I actually didn't see your question, but it makes it really much easier for me in the chat if you tag me, and yeah, because then the question will actually stand out. Yeah, like this station here, it's basically just a station for cabin owners. You can see the housing down, you just saw some housing down there to the right, and it's usually skiers and those who likes to ski in kind of extreme mountain environments or stay there during the summers doing hikes. They actually go up there. It is actually possible to ski from Finse and to Hallingskeid. It takes about, I think it's about 3 to 4 hours, and it's a really nice trip. Rail driver, they would probably be watching something else, I guess. Eric, no, I haven't tried a wingsuit yet, and that is basically because of the canopy I'm flying, so it's not kind of wingsuit compatible. I'm flying a high performance canopy, so yeah, you don't want to use that with a wingsuit. Leah Powell, we actually do have snow readiness on this line, so we have 2 snow blowers and a lot of other machines going back and forth during the winter to make sure that the track is clean. But all trains in Norway, and especially the trains going over the mountain here, are also equipped with a snow blade, or basically a track cleaner that looks like a plow. And that plow is able to push snow to the sides as long as the snow is able to like go somewhere. But if the edges on the sides get too high, then you can actually get stuck if the snow is really heavy and deep. Master 3, that is because Finse is a historic site, so they will not ruin the history of Finse. So it's kind of a both epic place to go to for tourists and Norwegians alike that likes hiking, and it's excellent during the winter for people who likes to kite. And yeah, and there is actually a museum up there that has the history of building of the Bergen Line. Eric, never driven it myself, but I have been a passenger on one and it was awesome. That guy? No, I have not tried paramotor, and I don't think I'm gonna do it either. Myrdal, I actually turned off the microphone and I have been talking and talking and talking and no one has heard it. So I will start all over again. John Skinner, yes, we are using a Cessna Caravan 208 and we have that plane for the whole summer before it then leaves the country again. Sweet dreams, rail driver. Eric, yes, I am actually quite excited to see the new tunnel opening, the new Ulriken tunnel, and I actually hope they are able to renovate the old one fast so that we can actually be running 2 tunnels and double the capacity between Arna and Bergen. It will actually make the logistics in that area so much better. Folkmaster, it really depends on the type of snow, the compactness, and how wet it is. But as long as you are able to toss the snow to the side and that it doesn't go way below the plow, then it's going to be okay. But if it does go over the height and you're not able to toss it to the sides, you are actually going to have the probability of getting stuck. Thank you, that guy. Thank you so much for the super chat, Andy. Did you hear me honking in the tunnel? I actually had to repeat all the questions, so I forgot my mark. But the honking in the tunnel was at the Bergen line's highest point, which is in that tunnel when we come out of Fagerhult and we go over the top in there. And the highest point is 1,237 meters or 4,058 feet. Finse station is situated at 4,009 feet, which is 1,222 meters above sea level. Geyser? Do you mean Bergen? And maybe I should stop saying Bergen and say Bergen, because that is actually how it is pronounced. That guy, if you believe in something, if you really like what you're doing, the enthusiasm actually comes by itself. I'm really excited to see if the snow at Finse actually will disappear this year, because if you look to the left you can actually see how high the snow was. And yeah, the amount is massive. And if you look to the right, when we come out of this tunnel, you can actually see cabins basically buried in the snow. Daniel Nemo, I would really like to swap. Actually, the snow here at the top of Finse, it's going to stick around probably all the way to August. But here in the lowland, the temperatures are really nice. Today it's been like around 25 degrees. So yeah, basically perfect. Mr. K. Sergeant, I actually know that you mentioned it on the last stream. I haven't been able to sit down and look at the kilometers and point out the halfway between Oslo and Bergen via Drammen or via Roa, but I will definitely do that when I have the time. That guy, if I retired, yes, actually, what I would do, I would travel more, a lot more, and I would actually do first-person perspectives of that too. So, yeah. Geyser 75, yes, they are actually kind of worried about Rallarvegen, or the Navi Road, which is following this line here. Usually that opens up during the summer for tourists so that you can rent a bike at Finse and basically bike to Flom. Or you can go to Haugastøl and yeah. But due to the amount of snow in the mountain this year, they will probably not be able to open it on the west side of the mountain. And that is because the Navi Road actually goes through a state park. And motorized vehicles are not allowed in that area. So it's going to be quite exciting to see if they going to open that part or if some part will be blocked. And Paul, I actually think that Cessna 208 doing aerial footage for the trains is kind of overkill. It's better to use a drone. William Hanford, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. Bulkmaster 3, those cabins you see around on the mountain, they are actually constructed to withstand massive amounts of snow, so they do have a really solid roof. And just a quick note, the slowdown here just before the tunnel, the reason for that is that there was a freight train that derailed here during the winter. It actually hit a huge mound of snow and it derailed. And so they capped the speed limit here on this part just to make sure that no other trains will derail due to the damage done to the track, and they will not be able to fix that before the snow and ground has thawed. Thank you, that guy. I actually don't see your question, and I don't see that you have tagged me any other times than once before upwards, so it could be that you are having some connection issues, but I'm not sure. But I really hope that I did not miss your message, because I feel like I've actually been able to answer most questions that have been tagged in. And seriously, I'm not trying to ignore you. John Skinner, if the connection between the train and the wire, it actually depends on what the damage is. We have 2 pantographs on the train on this logo, so if one is damaged and the catenary is not damaged, we can actually use the other one. But if we are in a situation where the damage is to the catenary and it has been ripped down, then we have to wait for assistance. If you guys look out on the side view now, you can actually see snow. I need to stop saying actually all the time. You can see snow being thrown to the side. Thank you so much for super chat, Magno. Hey there, Midham, I see your tag. Thank you, Ian. Hey there, Tex Wheeler. That guy, I think that this is really awesome that we've been able to gather so many nationalities into this chat, and that it has turned into a wickedly awesome community with its own newsletter, which is hosted by John Waters, and where the participants and members and those who wants to participate actually send in pictures from all over the world, and we are actually able to have an insight into other people's daily life, and it's just beautiful. Daniel Nemo, yes, we do run brake tests when we are running in conditions where snow is being thrown up like this. So during conditions where like this, we do brake test every 10 kilometers or every 3 to 4 minutes to make sure that the brake discs and pads are heated, and we just melt off the snow. Steve Blanco, it is the best job in the world. Servant of Milan, I would opt in for a Yeti ranch on the mountain. That would be awesome. A Yeti ranch. Thank you for becoming a member, Christine. Servant, sheepless, would it be exploitive if it was free range Yetis? Hey there, Parker. Nemo, I cannot imagine the horrible feeling that engineer on that train must have had when he actually applied the brakes and nothing happens. I've been in conditions where applying the brakes 3 kilometers early and nothing actually happened. And these are things we take into considerations, and it's a heavy part of our training to maintain heat and usage of the brakes so that we won't end up in a situation like that. And that is one of the things that makes the Bergen line really special, and that is the conditions we run in all year round. You can actually see here it's mid-May and it's this amount of snow, and we have seen snow on the top covering the tracks like in June and as early as August. So yeah, we have to be prepared for whatever nature throws at us. Soka Koala, it wasn't scary, but it was very interesting to experience that it would take that amount of time before the snow melted. The thing is that the science behind it is that you have icing on the brake discs and pads covered in snow. So you first have to get the friction up so that the snow melts, and after the snow and ice melts, you have to evaporate the water before it actually get enough friction to start braking. So yeah, it's an interesting experience. And I can actually not stress that enough. It's a huge part of the training we have. Christine G, yes, the lower we get, the amount of snow will diminish. So we're still pretty high up. I have put the elevation stations. This station is pronounced Haugastøl. And Haugastøl is 988 meters above sea level, and that would translate to 3,241 feet. Erik, yes, Finse station is FATC stretch. John Skinner, sometimes I actually wonder what their daily lives are like when I see people through the windows when we pass by. It's interesting, like sitting there juggling around his stories and yeah, where do they come from, what they do for a living, and yeah, it's nice. Naomi Garza, it's pronounced Haugastøl. Hello to Gracie Ann. Master 3, the time here right now is 13 minutes past 11 p.m. AV Cross, it might not be your eyes. I see that there are some buffering issues the YouTube side, but I don't see any warnings about dropped frames or anything from my streaming software, so I just hope that it's not too severe. You're welcome, Christine. Erik, the actual speed of what? Real Doddy, the rail control system, the line is remotely controlled, so there is a traffic controllers who gives you the train path, and we have a system, a train protection system that is called ATC. the system here works in a way that you have a distance signal and then you have a main entry signal when you're going into a station. And out of the station you have a main exit signal. And the distance signal for the main exit signal is usually placed on the mast of the main entry signal. And a real good example of that is our next station we are arriving, which is Ustaoset. There you can see that system in action. Midham, there are no supervisors here who are deleting your messages. Oh, AB Cruz, if you are watching on a 4K monitor right now, I can tell you that this stream and the other live stream is not actually 4K, it's 2K. If you want to see the videos in 4K, then I suggest you wait for the independent upload that will come on later, and that is in 4K. And for the future, I can announce that the new camera is actually recording videos in 6K. Eric, on the F80C stretch we can go at 160 kilometers per hour one way, but the other way we have to drive as low as 145 kilometers per hour due to the train's ability to brake its on or stop the length it needs to stop, and the gradient of the line. So there's a lot of things we have to take into consideration when we are driving. AB Cruz, I will. Thank you so much for the super chat, the heroic Blazeman. To the left right now we just passed the main entry signal, and on the same mast you could see the distance signal for the main exit signal. We are now arriving at the station called Ustaoset. Folkmaster 3, there's no one like really controlling all the trains. There is a traffic central located somewhere. Not going to disclose their location, but there they can see the whole line and where and the position of every train. And it's not possible to have two trains running on the same section of the line at the same time. So it's not possible to send a train A from station A and train B from station B towards each other, because that would not be possible. The line block has to be pointed one direction, and then you actually tell the system that, okay, we are going to send a train from station B to A. So if you then have a train waiting on station A, then that train will not get a green signal until train B has arrived station A, and that the line can be switched, the line block can can be switched into the other direction, sending the train the other way. And on top of that, we also have the train protection system, which is connected to that. So for us who are driving these things, if we do something wrong and we run a red light, the train will stop. It will not be possible for us to continue without like really overriding heaps of systems and yeah, kind of making sure that you lose your job. And if something like that should happen, the traffic controller also have the ability to cut the power to the catenary, which means that any electric train on that line would not be able to get anywhere. So there's a lot of safety systems in here to make sure that something like that doesn't happen. And the default state for any error or misconception within the systems, it will put all the signals into red. And with that, it will not be possible to pass those signals for the trains. So it's really safe. The German signals and the Norwegian signals are not that different actually. They are quite similar. They're just represented in a different way, or presented in a different way. They basically mean the same, but for the German drivers and the Norwegian drivers, we kind of read the signal pictures in different ways, but it means the same. Kravik, no, there is the emergency brakes on F80C lines or any other lines. If you exceed a set speed limit, will be at 9 kilometers per hour over the limit. That's when the train will stop itself. If you are going 5 kilometers over, which can be shall I say, if they have done some corrections to the wheel, like rubbed it down to remove flat spots, that's typically when this happens. Then the wheel becomes smaller and thus it will run faster and present the wrong speed. So the train will then actually be traveling under the speed limit, but our instruments and systems aboard will tell you that you're running at a higher speed than you actually are. So if you are running 5 kilometers over the speed limit, you will get a constant beep, 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 beep from the system. And if you surpass 9 kilometers per hour, the brakes will apply itself and brake you all the way down to a complete stop before you are able to release the brakes again and continue. John Skinner, thankfully that has not happened to me yet, and hopefully it will not, because that is embarrassing. Andy Powell? That sounds like a really good idea. Sandra Magno, the tourist situation in Norway is still really dismal, and the reason for that is that our borders are still closed for foreigners, except for people who are within the EU and EEC or ECC. So if you are from outside of Europe, you are not able to come into the country. And if you do come into the country, you will automatically be sent to a 10-day quarantine. But we see kind of it's starting to pick up with Norwegian travelers, the people who are starting to their longer weekends off and starting to take out vacation. It's usually around this time, so we see a steady increase in passengers. So from next month or June, which is actually, I think it's tomorrow, we are starting to run more trains on the Bergen line. And all drivers are back in full operation, so we will not be partially suspended anymore, which is great also. And yeah, so we're hoping for a steady increase of Norwegian travelers. I think this is a good time for the Norwegian people to travel around their own country and see places they have never been to. Scott, the longest tunnel on the Bergen line is the Finse Tunnel, which is 10,300 meters, and that would translate to, let's see, it will be 6.4 miles. Eric, they actually have a threshold. That overspeed is put there because of just like on your car, your speedometer is showing approximately 10% lower speed than or 10% higher speed than the true speed you are traveling at. So they have put in this threshold on the ATC system for situation like I mentioned earlier, if they have done some wheel corrections and the wheel is now smaller, but they haven't adjusted for the speedometer on the ATC system, then you will get a warning when you reach like 160 kilometers per hour. So it's actually a threshold there to compensate for margin errors in the systems on the rolling stock. Tramper Kev, yes, we have a system here like the Germans use called SIFA, which is a pedal I have to hold down. If I lift my foot, I will get an alarm after 6 seconds, and after 12 seconds the train will apply the emergency brakes. And approximately every 60 seconds I have to lift my foot and re-press the pedal to tell the system that I'm still lucid and in control. For newer rolling stock, that also means input to either the brakes or throttle. So if you correct your speed with input, it will send a system or a message to that same system that, yeah, the driver is still lucid and is actually changing speeds or operating the train. This station we just left is called Geilo. Midham? No, I will never operate a train on the Northern Line, and that is basically because that's another company. That company takes over now when June starts, and that will be the Swedish train company called SJ, which is basically the Swedish state rail. So they will be operating the Northern Line, so if I was to retrain, I would have to quit my job here and move to Trondheim to drive on the Northern Line. So that will probably not happen since I thrive here at Voss. AB Cruise, it's pneumatic. It is a 8-bar horn. So yeah, it's air. It's compressed air. And Nepal, everyone knows that every Norwegian was born with skis on their legs. And not on the legs, but actually on the feet. Hulkmaster 3, no, we're not able to go anywhere to pick up something, so we have to remain in our seat, but we also have kind of a remote button, a wired button, so if we want to, we could get out of the driver's seat to stretch, but we will just be able to stand right next to it because we will either have to press on that button, the remote button, or have our feet on the pedal. Thankfully, we have nice conductors on the train who we can call, and they will most willingly bring us coffee when we need it. John Skinner, today here at Voss, the temperature was a pleasant 25 degrees. Hulkmaster 3? No, there will be no brakes for that, so that is actually one of the things we have to make sure before we do these long trips. If we go all the way from Bergen to Oslo, we make sure that we have emptied everything that needs to be emptied before we start our shift, so we don't have to delay the train because we have to go to the bathroom. PK24, the Class 69 does not have a pressure equalization system in the driver's cab or the passenger cabin, and if you had a sinus infection, driving in and out of those narrow tunnels on the Bergen line, it was truly painful. And in Powell, there are no reopen. Do you mean reopen old stations, or like due to the COVID-19 thing? Eric, yeah, I can imagine the CargoNet drivers. I actually drove in CargoNet for 7 weeks during training, and you made sure that you brought coffee with you. And on the old L14 locos, they actually have a place you can cook coffee, so it was great. We didn't lack coffee when we were there for training. Sandra Magno, yes, during training in CargoNet, I was able to drive trains across the border from Norway and into Sweden, and it was a really interesting experience because the system there is quite different from here. Where here in Norway, the more green lights you see, the faster you can go. In Sweden, it is the direct opposite. So here in Norway, if you see like this, a blinking green, that means that the next signal will have 2 greens. And in Sweden, if you see a blinking green, that means that the next signal is in red, and then you have to stop. So it's totally opposite. But interesting. It was really interesting and fun. AB Cruz, if the winter conditions on the mountain is really horrible and you have almost zero sight and basically storms, we can ask for assistance, and then a colleague will go with you as a co-pilot, and we can then share duties. So, example, that one will check all the signals and read those back to the driver, and the driver will repeat and verify, and the assistants can do communications with the traffic controller and stuff like that. So yeah, in bad conditions we do have a co-pilot with us. Andy Powell, under the current government, I will say that there's no chance, and under the competition regime we are put under now, there is no chance of reopening old stations, and I cannot see any realism in building new stations. They will just remove stations, existing stations that we have now, or just upgrade the stations that already exists, but nothing more than that. That guy did a camera break? Do you mean the one that had during the really bad weather on the Flom line that just crashed, or? John Skinner, I have not been able to ride with Amtrak in the States yet. Master, I think that could be due to the buffering issue. Unlock, that is correct. Tramper Kev, no, did not operate class 66. It was running on the northern line, but I was running the Diesel 8 or DI8, class 8, in the shunting yard at Alnabru, and yeah, it was a great experience. Slept like a baby on that one when we had nothing to do, and yeah, I love that engine. AB Cruise, the beeping you hear, the double beeping, it happens when I don't see the end of my train through a curve. So when I know there's an increase in line speed, I can double slap the CFA pedal and it will start to count the length of the train, which we can plot in before we go. And so I plotted in the length of the train, and when I come to the increased line speed signal, I just double tap the pedal and starts the train has passed the signal. It will give me the double beep, which means I'm clear to increase the speed. Thank you, Steven Blanco. John Skinner, no, our line speed, the speed we can travel in, is actually given to us on trackside signals. So if you see a rectangular signal, either pointing up or down, which means if pointing up, it means increased line speed, pointing down, it means warning of reduced speed. So on this part we're running right now, the highest speed allowed is 130 kilometers per hour. That's the technical line speed. But with the consistency of this train, I'm allowed to run at 115 kilometers per hour or 110. Yeah, so that is given to us by visual signaling. But if we are running on a fully equipped ATC line, we also have the speed information given to us in our ATC panel. But the part we're running on right now is partially equipped, so it will just show us 3 lines, and that means that the section ahead is clear, but no speed information. So it will be given to us by trackside signaling. That said, we are also going to have ERTMS or ETCS here on the Bergen line. I think they're going to switch to the new system in 2023 if the construction goes after plan. That will mean the removal of all optical and visual trackside signals, and they will be replaced with stop sign, just showing you where the signal would be placed if it was there. And then all speed information, movement authorities and stuff like that will be moved into the cab. James Parmley, we have something called cruise control on our train, or basically like in your car, it's a cruise control. So I can tell the train to keep and maintain a certain speed, and then it will just regulate power or brake accordingly if you're going up and down to maintain that speed. And then I can just tell it to go slower or faster, and then it will respond to that. Andy Powell, that would be awesome. AB Cruise, on this train, on this kind of train, I don't do any communication with the passengers behind, but on the local service we speak on the public announcement system all the time. So if something happens or there is a change in arrival times, we will announce that on the public announcement system. Erik, yeah. And that is going to be running between Hønefoss and Roa, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, that guy. And thank you everyone for joining in tonight. We have now arrived home, and this is where my part of this journey ends. And yes, I hope to see you all again, hopefully next weekend. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay happy. Thank you everyone for joining in, and thank you everyone for the support today. See you again next week. Bye.